improvement in the administering that program. My question is, with the residual value, even though some of them, what you would call it would be obsolete, there could still be some value. Does that go through the surplus property route, or can it be donated to schools or the school superintendent's office? What's the typical disposal process?
Sure. The only discussion I've heard used was going into surplus. I hadn't discussed with Brian about donating. I'm not sure of the process.
Okay. Very good. It would, to me, from my perspective, it would be great to not just have them sit on a shelf and become even more obsolete, and eventually of no value. If there's a repurposing of value, including the surplus property sale, that would be ideal.
I agree. I did hear it mentioned, though, in a unfortunately what usually happens with older computers is they while the components still work, it's the security updates on older computers can't be updated to a point where they're secure from cybersecurity type threats, and that's really the concern with those older computers.
Understood. Okay.
Thank you for your comments, Paul. Anything else? Have a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve the purchase of 5 laptop computers for Public Health Emergency Preparedness Grant.
I'll second the motion.
Make it unanimous.
Excellent. Thank you very much. Next item I have is this is the health department, excuse me, is seeking approval of an amended immunization services IGA. I was filled in about this just prior to this to coming over, but this is a services agreement that we have with ADHS, and essentially it's COVID funds that still remain. The funds that we're giving during COVID, we're given a deadline for when you could spend them, and ADHS, the state, has approved to extend that deadline for another year so that we're able to continue to spend those funds, and we plan to use those funds to continue paying the nurses we have at the health department, and we're just seeking approval to continue to do that for the next year.
Yeah, we get the benefits from the COVID money. Glad you're pursuing that. Any other comments?
I just noted, Mr. Chairman, that the largest portion of the funds are for administration, and a smaller component is the actual immunizations itself. There's even money for refrigeration. My question is we, while we're doing the flu immunizations, we no longer can people come and get the booster? Last time I talked to your director, he said that the county wasn't providing the booster, but if there's funding for this immunization program, are they, are we or aren't we providing the booster upon request?
I, like you, was under the impression we were no longer providing that booster. I don't have an explanation as to why, but.
Yeah, but I think there's like $75,000 allocated if you spend it, but I'm just wondering, are we leaving money on the table, or are we exercising our duties, accepting this money and then not giving the state the services in return, other than just absorbing it for overhead and expenses?
I did speak with our head nurse prior to this meeting. I wanted to make sure, in case of questions, where this money was being spent, so that I could answer those. And she indicated that the COVID money that we received from this IGA has only been spent on salary for the nurses, and we obviously offered immunization or the booster, the COVID shot in the past. So my impression was that we either hadn't been purchasing that immunization. It was just given to us, which makes sense during COVID. But she didn't indicate that we had used this money to buy that in the past. So whether that can be done, I mean, I'm sure if there's, you know, if the community feels that need, that we need to go ahead and or shows that would like that available, then I think this money can do that. But we hadn't used it for that in the past.
Well, I'm in support of this amendment because it extends things out for until June of next year, and that gives us time if we have added responsibilities. So I'm in favor, and if there, should I make a motion? Are you
Sure.
ready for a motion?
Can we get a motion?
Mr. Chairman, I'll move that we approve the amended immunization services IGA.
I'll second that.
Make it unanimous. Next.
Excellent, thank you. Third and final item that I have, this is the Health Department is seeking approval for the Department of Emergency Management and Military Affairs Mutual Aid Compact. This is commonly known to us as the ASMAC. This is something that we sign or agree to every year that comes up. In the past, this is essentially just a intergovernmental agreement between local and county governments in Arizona to be able to offer aid to any county that's had an emergency, and likewise receive that from other counties. So it's just our ability to assist in an emergency to our neighboring communities.
Discussion?
Thanks, Mr. Chairman. Just a question. Do they have to actually declare an emergency before they're eligible? Or is this just, I was reading through and didn't see that, but it's just mutual aid for signatories that, you know, which would be entities, cities, towns, tribes, et cetera.
Sure. No, they do not have to declare an emergency. If they need assistance in any sort of way, this gives us our ability to do that.
Have we utilized this? I mean, is the tribe the co-signer or a signatory, so that the next time they have a request, like for their water tankers, that we have have we always had this, or is this a new formal way of being able to assist and bill and be covered under this mutual aid agreement?
We have been part of this in the past. I guess I don't know how far back, but yes, that's a good example. When we've helped with the tribe and their water needs in the past, that's exactly the sort of thing this covers.
Okay, very good.
Get a motion?
I'll make a motion for the approval of the Department of Emergency Management and Military Affairs Arizona Mutual Aid Compact.
I'll second Vice Chairman Mack's motion.
Make that unanimous. Next
Thank you
caller.
very much. Thank you.
Next we have Hannah Duderstadt, elections.
Good morning. I'm here to ask the board's approval of our vote centers and polling places for the 2024 presidential primary election. And we are going to use all our regular vote centers and polling places except for Bonita, where we're going to do all mail voting.
Any discussion on this item?
I just, has it been advertised enough so that the people in Bonita, I know that they're expecting a fairly low turnout, and the cost of providing the polling center there is high. So is this basically just because of it's a small turnout that it's expected, and that in other elections you'll have that as a polling place?
Correct, yes. Yeah, and we have our sample ballots that will be going out, and it includes all the polling places, and we do have it listed in there that Bonita will be all mail.
There's a notice at the school or somewhere that the people shouldn't show up to vote.
I have a contact and I will make sure that they know.
That's great. Okay, I understand and support this. I'll go ahead and make a motion that we approve I've just talked about Bonita. There are other polling places, all the other typical normal, that we approve the vote centers and polling places for the 2024 presidential primary election.
I'll second that.
Make that unanimous.
Thank you.
Thank you, Hannah. Next, we have Mark Kavanaugh filling in for Steve McCoy.
Good morning.
Morning.
First on our agenda is approval of a special event liquor license for the Big Buck Contest at Graham County Fairgrounds on February 24th, 2024.
We certainly have to have that out there, don't we? So, we have any discussion on this one?
I looked at we all looked at the details, sure. But with two uniformed officers and then their other security and the history of compliance and people having a good time and not having problems, I think it's just almost a formality to approve this liquor license.
I agree. It's a great event. Draws lots of people. I'll make a motion to approve the liquor license for the Big Buck Contest at the Graham County Fairgrounds on February 24th.
And I'll second.
Okay,
Vice Chairman Mack.
make that unanimous. Thank you, Mark.
All right. So next on our agenda is rezone.
We have to move to something else, Mark. We'll call you up here in a second.
Okay.
Thank you.
But we're glad you're anxious to get this done.
We're anxious too. Next, we have a chance to give a report on what's been going on the last few weeks amongst us. So first up, we'll have our county manager, Dustin Walker.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Just a few things from our staff report. The first thing I want to point out, several weeks ago, we had a work session with our treasurer's office, our county attorneys, our sheriff's office about starting up basically the process of recouping personal property again, which is basically mobile homes and trailers that are not treated as real property but personal property. And the list of individuals that were not paying those property taxes was quite extensive, and some of them quite high. And I just wanted to report back that process has been very successful. I wanted to thank Cindy Orr for really spearheading that, bringing it back to light. It was a process that was dormant for several years, 10+ years, and they've been able to recoup a lot of that money. They've had people come and pay in full. They've had people come and get on a payment plan. And I just want to thank her and the sheriff's office. They've also been out there helping with delivering the letters, getting with property owners, and they've done a fantastic job. And just really appreciate that effort from the treasurer's office, from our treasurer Orr, and we appreciate that effort, and it's been successful. So we'll continue. They're basically through the first round and on to the second round of property owners in that effort. So just wanted to applaud that. I also wanted to make the board aware, the Gila River Linear Park and Trail, we've had a conceptual drawing and plan on this since about 2020, and we approached ADOT through their Transportation Alternative Program to do the design on that project, which basically goes from 8th Avenue a little to the east where Ted Perina has his property, and then to the west past 20th Avenue, which is of course where the movie theater is, and then a little past that. In total, it's about 4.5 miles. This would add to the already existing walking path and trails throughout the county, and we're excited to see this move. This is a $528,000 grant, and that's for design. The county's match on that is $30,112. So it's a good grant, and we're anxious to see that get off the ground. I sent out letters to all the property owners that we have easements for over that planned area, and we'll work on that as it progresses. Also in the Gila River, our fire mitigation project continues going pretty strong. Cramy Construction is working on that. They've completed 6 now of the second phase of these fire breaks in the river, and they're working on the 7th. Hannah mentioned the presidential preference election, and that is on March 19th. Just wanted to point that out one more time. Out at the fairgrounds, we had discussed at our last work session about getting the marquee sign up and going, and appreciate Supervisor David for helping me push that along a little bit. We're working with Ponderosa Metal over at the airport. They're a new company that does a lot of this kind of work, does a really good job, and we're working on a design on that project. Also want to report, we've been working with Planning and Zoning on a zoning ordinance rewrite and finding a company to help us with that. We're working with Civic Plus, which is the company that hosts our website, and they provide this service, and we're working through their proposal, and we'll hopefully bring an agreement to the board here in the next couple meetings on that. Finally, I just wanted to report in our public fiduciary office. This is one of the offices that probably flies under the radar quite a bit, but one of our responsibilities in the county is to take care of individuals that are not able to handle their finances on their own. And we have a public fiduciary office right now of 3 individuals, and to get certified as a public fiduciary is a pretty extensive process. It requires working 3 years as an apprentice under an acting licensed public fiduciary. And Megan Robbins has been with us 3 years now, and she's just finished that 3 years. And in January on the 17th, she took her public fiduciary test and passed. So we're happy to see that and report that as Kathy Lawson moves on to retirement, and I think she's done a fantastic job, so that was great to see. And I think I had one more thing to report. Actually, I'll save that for a work session. We have our engineering department and highway department have been working quite extensively on many projects, and we can discuss those more in our work session after this. So that's my report for now, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, thank you. Up next, Supervisor David.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just briefly, we had a BLM Graham County coordination meeting at our last January 16th board meeting, following the board meeting, and one of the things we discussed was their proposal for eliminating about 20% of the existing paths and trails. So they all had a number, but they're not all. Some of them are just basically an ATV, that went off road and created it. So they're looking at eliminating about a little over 20%, and so we addressed comments on that. And we were all in attendance. And the following day, I went to Phoenix for a meeting for the Eastern Counties Organization, Natural Resources for our forests and our rangelands, and supported their efforts there. And that evening, we were all in attendance, all of our delegation here at the county at the legislative reception, and we re-engaged and continued to reaffirm our friendships and our support, and tried to make new friends who would help us in the legislature with both in defeating unfavorable bills and passing favorable bills. The next week, Saffron City Council meeting. We had last Wednesday, there was a point in time count, and I don't have the numbers yet for the number of people who were, that they could actually locate and document they're homeless. Following day, there was a webinar with Senator Kelly's office for Bureau of Reclamation projects. And then I'm pleased to announce that we meet when we don't have a county supervisors in-person meeting, we have a legislative policy committee meeting every Friday morning. Our offices are closed, but all three of the supervisors go in and get updates on what the latest proposals are, and either support or oppose. We as a group, we get to vote as a county supervisors to support or oppose that, and it's a pretty effective lobby. And then the following week, Rural Transportation Advocacy Council meeting I chaired in the Phoenix area. We also had a legislator luncheon. The next day, Supervisor Smith was there, or former Supervisor Smith was there, with the Gila County Leadership Council, and that was great, about 25 people, and that's hosted by our Chamber of Commerce and Eastern Arizona College, and supported by former Supervisor Smith. It was great. And then that evening there was a meeting at the Capitol that Chairman will probably include, but I was really pleased that he'd get in his car, drive round trip 7 hours to support the people in the Gila Bend area who had something that they had no indication of, that was announced, that that their area is going to become an active management area. And so Supervisor Howard went ahead and mobilized and attended those meetings. So I thought that was great leadership. Following day, testified at House Transportation Committee meeting for there are 75 projects in rural Arizona that are not included in the ADOT 5-year plan, and with a $400 million total value. And these are priority projects. We don't know in this year's budget how many of those will be approved, but we wanted to emphasize that our needs are ongoing. And one of those projects was the improving Ray Lane north of Thatcher. And then finally, went to Josh Halverson's reception, said bye-bye, and then we convened again this last Friday for LPC meeting, and then I was very pleased that we had the board participate along with former Supervisor Smith in a presentation at Mayor Kautz's memorial service. And then the Legion had a Fort Chaplain's tribute on Saturday morning that I was able to attend a portion of that. And that's my report, Mr. Chairman. Thank you both for your service.
Vice Chair?
Definitely been a busy few weeks, but one of the things that was important to me, I met with Brittany at the Boys and Girls Club. And the Boys and Girls Club is a great asset to our valley. And she informed me that by the end of March, they will be out of money. So obviously our children are one of our most important assets to us. And so I just want to encourage anybody that can donate to that to donate to that great cause.
They have a fundraiser dinner this Saturday night at 6, by the way. $40 for dinner and a little entertainment. So.
Yeah, they actually had somebody break into their building and take a bunch of stuff. So they're definitely in need of help, and great program. So
Yeah, thank you. I have a lot of things I could talk about, but I'm not going to. The only couple things I'd like to point out is my trip to Phoenix on the water issues, and very important that I stay engaged in that. I'm very passionate about our water this year, and in the state it's going to heat up on different bills coming forward and issues coming forward. So I'm very engaged in that, and I will continue to stay engaged in that. Also on the 18th, there was a water presentation by Justin Layton at the Friends of the Library that gave a little bit of the water history in the Gila Valley, and it was very, very informative. So I just encourage everybody to pay attention to what's happening in our water this year. It will be vital. And just quickly, I would like to say I was deeply honored to go to Mayor Couch's services. It was very touching, very moving, and he just want to give a shout out to him for what he did for our community. His services gave a total different light on his passion for life and the things he did for our community that people didn't see. So I was very much appreciated to go to that. So with that, I will close this, and we will next go into a public hearing. That'll be you, Mark.
Okay, the first one we have is rezone 890-23. That's parcel number 106-06-076. This is a 5-acre parcel. Request was made to rezone from current A general zone to commercial manufacturing zone to build commercial warehouses for rent. The applicant is Joseph Ward. I do not see him here today. This property is on the east side of the Highway 191 and approximately 280 feet south of Powerline Road.
Is anybody here to speak on this? I don't see anybody.
Yeah, I don't see Joe or Daniel, so.
Any discussion on this?
Were there any letters of opposition?
No letters of opposition for this one. And the commission all gave a favorable motion to approve this.
Can I get a motion?
I'll just comment if I could, or I can make a motion first, and then we can do discussion, whatever your preference is.
Go ahead.
I'll just note that this is in addition to work that he's already done, they've been responsible and followed the permit requirements, and this is just going to be a little more of the same that's out there. They maintain their property. It looks good. It's obviously a needed service because it continues to grow. So I am in favor of that, and I'll move that we approve the request for rezoning the 5 acres of parcel number 106-06-076.
I'll second that.
Yeah, and on top of that, I'd just like to say that they do a very good job. They're very clean. It's very attractive, so I will make that unanimous. Next, we have.
Okay, next is rezone 891-23. This parcel number is 109-83033M. This is a 5.03 acre parcel, and a request has been made to rezone from current agricultural residential zone to RM, multifamily residential zone. Applicant is Brigden Hughes. Mr. Hughes wants to build just one duplex on this property, and this property is on the south side of Cottonwood Wash Road.
Does anybody here wish to speak on this, or we need that? Applicant, please. Applicant first, you can speak. Mr. Hughes.
There's my front and side elevations, my floor plan, and that's a kind of a rough draft of my site plan. Give or take a few feet, but that's what it'll look like.
As I kind of mentioned most of this in the previous meeting with the committee, but as it mentions, I want to build one duplex. You can kind of see the square in the corner of the parcel right there, and then I drew my measurements to my nearest neighbors, 200 feet, 700 feet, 700 feet. So that's kind of the distances from it. And both speaking to my neighbors on my left and right, Dorian, and then David Carbajal, discussion with them. They're not here and they haven't sent any letters in, but David Carbajal would be my closest neighbor, and he hasn't mentioned anything in opposition to it. And it will be a total of 2,400 square foot, being two 1,200 square foot units. And as I mentioned, it's just gonna be one duplex, not a big complex or a bunch of them or anything like that. So I don't know if you guys have any questions on it, but.
Questions, Paul?
I have one, and this may be more suited for Mark, but if you, we understand your intent to build one, but if we rezone this, this 5-acre parcel for multifamily, can in the future, can there be, 3 or 4 or 5 of these rather than the, just the one that you're intending to build, and so that would be, right now, to me, since it's just one building, it's not even 2 buildings, it's just one building. It doesn't seem to be too, it doesn't really change the visual nature of the area, but a cluster of duplexes. That's what I was concerned about, and didn't know if that was the discretion of the property owner once we have this rezoned.
Yeah.
And do you know that, Mark? Can you respond to that? About future, I mean, the density right now, he's gonna put 1 in 5 acres. What is his, what will the rezoning allow as far as additional buildings? Okay. That's the only question I have.
So if I could say something about that. So that's one of the concerns that was brought up in the last meeting. And you can't really tell on that paper, I don't think, and I don't know if you can tell if you zoomed in or not, but really the only spot that I would ever feel comfortable building on, looking at the water, because again, I don't think you can tell, but coming in there, there's a bunch of water. Oh, thank you.
You have drainage issues, that's what he's saying.
Okay.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, there is drainage issues.
But, so, I'm trying to think. I don't think this is the right parcel.
No.
Oh, I think it's right in here.
033N.
So yeah, you can even tell just off the picture. But there's all this, in between this mesa right here and this mesa right here, there's all this water that comes all right through here, and then it runs out and floods that road during bad monsoons. And again, I don't know if you can really tell, but right here, this little triangle right here, that's like the only spot of dirt that's, I mean, it's probably 6-8 feet above this plane right here, or if not more. So as far as building other things, right here is really all that I would feel comfortable. Again, is it possible? Yeah, you can build houses on stilts, and you might be able to get away with it, but I would never feel comfortable putting money into something and putting it into here for the potential of, water to flood it out. So right here is where the one duplex I'm planning on putting it, and that's all I'd ever feel comfortable doing right there.
Okay, thank you.
That portion that you just pointed out on where you would build, that triangle there, how big an area is that, by any chance, do you know?
I'm not exactly sure, I haven't measured it.
Okay.
But well enough big, I would say we measured out the 2,400 square foot where the duplex would sit, and there's, I mean, at least 40 feet of parking on either side, or I mean in front of it, and then 20 feet on either side to park. I mean, there's plenty of space to, live comfortably right here, but, oh yeah, there you go.
I just wanted to know that, see, with Supervisor David's question about would you build something else? Sounds to me like if you built one there, that's all you're gonna build there.
Yeah, there's definitely not enough room to build more than one duplex right there.
Yeah, okay, thank you. Any other questions for him? Thank you.
Sure.
Next we have, let's see your name. Do you wish to speak? Go ahead and come to the microphone. State your name for us, please.
Does he need to fill out a form after he speaks?
He's got a form,
Oh,
but he
it's
just
got-
just didn't put his name on it.
Oh, gotcha.
Ready?
Yep.
My name is Orville Rolando. Lived at my address on Cottonwood Wharf for over 20 years. What he's talking about is gonna funnel all that water that he admitted comes down that draw. And you see where that point is? He's got a channel right now built, pointing at that corner. You see that blue roof there? That's my house. For 23 years, I've watched that wash almost flood my place. I've made adaptations, which I'm allowed to do to protect my property. I can redirect flood waters and drainage waters without causing damage to people beside me or below me. That is completely illegal. And time will tell if it's going to, this is hypothetical. I just know what that wash does when it rains real hard. So now I have a channel pointing directly at my house. Couldn't have made it better if he straight lined it. Apartments cause higher crime, more calls to the emergency services. This is the country. It's not a city limits. It's not a close, we do not, my point, just make it short, don't want a sob story. I don't want this in my space. For the last 3 days, I woke up to backup alarms and high-powered lights from heavy equipment flashing in my windows. Okay? I can understand he wants to make a living. There's lots of places in Pima, Bluff Ranch Road, that would welcome a duplex. I do not. Has there been a study taken of Cottonwood Wash of how many people on Cottonwood Wash want this? The commissioner meeting, there was 3 or 4 guys here that did not, adamantly did not want this. I do not want it. I do not want lights pointing in my windows. I do not want people above me looking down on my house in my windows. I don't want lights shining in my eyes all night long because somebody moved to the country and they're scared of the dark, so they install lights across the top of their house and yard lights all over their property. So I don't know if there's been a study. I don't know that there is a permit issued yet, but it seems to me that he must have information regarding this that I don't, because he has not slowed down his building process a bit. Not building nothing, but he's reshaping the land and rechanneling flood and drainage waters. And it will, I'll guarantee you, it almost does every year, cause damage to the property owners below him. And Mr. David Carbajal hasn't said nothing because he's a part-time liver at that house. They work in Sholo, Arizona. They don't live here, they live here part-time. That's all I gotta say. I'm not gonna make this a all-day thing.
Any questions?
Thank you.
Any questions?
No, I just, you know, your information about the drainage is concerning, and I would just say that's something our floodplain engineer, you know, we have to be careful what we do in washes, and so the permitting process, you know, wherever he's at with it, any work that's done in a wash that's unauthorized or that will concentrate and or accelerate flow, should be reviewed and should be noted. I know that Mark will note that, and that may, you know, may become more of an issue as the construction moves along.
Yeah, well, as you go along with this, we have a very bad drainage problem on Cottonwood Wash.
Yeah.
The road is the ditch.
Well,
All right?
yeah.
Culverts are there, being ignored, haven't been cleaned. When I was in the business, I had to clean the culverts out. I was responsible for that. Have a culvert comes in right in my yard. I don't know who authorized to put it there, probably before I bought the place. But every year it would flood, force my driveway to the neighbors. So I built a rock wall and put it back where it belonged. But what they're doing across this road is gonna cause damage to Carbajal's place. Chuck done that. Farther on down, there's another thing that almost the culvert crossing to get to the property is almost washed out now. So I do believe a hydrologist needs to come in and study this and give it to you folks. And the crime that will be added to an already overloaded sheriff's department. Houses have been broken to on Cottonwood Wash with no results, no arrests. You know, that's all. I gotta get home.
I have a question for you on this drainage issue here you're talking about. It looks to me, just from the pictures, I've been out there several times in Cottonwood Wash, there's drainage issues all over that place where houses has been built and water's been diverted from different neighbors to neighbors. It's really a mess. But my question is the drainage on this, where does that water go now? I mean, it seems to me like it runs down that wash that you're talking about, correct? No?
Comes right up on the road and runs down the road. And actually, when Mr. Palmer was at your job, I guess, they built a berm so that water would stay in that ditch. And Mr. Nelson built a place up there, and his place has diverted the water down the road. I got pictures on my phone if you want to see them. The road is blocked. Used to be blocked down by, I think it's Curtis and Wimberley. This year it was clear up almost to Chuck Dunlap's place, which is probably a quarter of a mile with the water rushing down there. And that wasn't really a bad storm. It was a good one last year, first year. So, but it's not the worst that's been on that place. I would say also that if you divert flood water or drainage water and it causes damage to the county facilities and to the people below you, according to Arizona's water regulations, he will be responsible for that damage. Whatever.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
Any more questions?
Hearing none. Okay. Mark, I have a question for you. Have you been out to that property and look at, do you see a issue with the flooding on diverting water, or has it been changed in your opinion?
Not any more than it has already been flowing down that wash for years.
Okay.
Just to touch on doing dirt work, that's not against the law. So he's able to do dirt work.
Okay.
As long as he is conscious of, you know, the flood waters that are going downstream.
And not pointing it towards neighbors.
And not pointing it towards
harming
neighbors.
others. So, okay, thank you. Have a motion, or?
I'm just curious, have we looked at the issue of this water running through this guy's place before, or is this new, or?
No, this
No
is
complaints
new to
before?
us since we posted the public hearing signs and started this rezoning process. So he
Michael, do you have something on this?
So I've met with Mr. Rolando before because there has been a drainage issue in that area. And so if this goes through, we'll have to review whatever comes in and see if there are any alternations to the drainage in the area. He's indicated that he's going to put in a low water crossing, which, you know, if he was trying to put in a culvert, those basically, for a wash that size, act like a dam and would divert water. So we'll have to look at that. But it has been an issue in the past of water coming across that road, and there is a channel, like he says, along the side of the road that carries a lot of water down through there. So,
My question would be, if he built this project, would it create more water or harm anybody with this project up on that hill like that? Would that create more water to flood out the neighborhood he was talking about?
I've got to see what he's going to do
Okay.
until we know exactly what he's going to do. I mean, where he's putting his units wouldn't affect it. Any alteration to the grading down in that channel may or may not.
And when you say low water crossing, where was he maybe gonna put that?
I don't know whether, I haven't seen his site plan, so I don't know if it shows on that or not, where that low water crossing would be. He could probably tell you.
Could you respond to that, please? Yes. Sure.
So there's been a lot of things said that what I'm doing, and a lot of them aren't necessarily true. So yeah, this whole area right here, all the water just kind of ran however it wanted to through here, and a lot of it ran right through here. And there's like a very big canal that naturally formed, and yeah, it's angled right towards his house, which I haven't seen it during the storms to see if it blows through and hits there. But as far as what it looks like the channeling does, it naturally goes right here. And if anything, it looks like it might flood out here and hit this guy's house. But so what we've done is we came back here more down on my property, and we're trying to curve, because it all runs right here, is we've created a channel, and I rented a loader. That's what he's talking about with all the heavy equipment, as we've been doing this last week and weekend, is we create a channel that kind of curves, hopefully naturally, so the water, I mean, there's no hard like breaking point so the water can hit it, but create a natural curvature, and then a dike on this side of it, and then a channel on this side of it, where it comes, and then, I mean, this is give or take a little bit, but then it comes right through here, and then this will be the duplexes, so it comes right through here, and then we've actually angled it right through here. So no, it doesn't angle straight towards his house. Right now it curves, and it comes probably right through here. And then what we've done is I went and talked to David, since we had the loader, if I can help him out at all. And so what we've done is, instead of just sending it straight through here, it looked like it just blow through this road and hit this guy, so it comes right here, and then we've kind of feathered out that direction a little bit. To where hopefully, once it hits this point, it'll kind of curve to the right and then fan out to where it kind of dissipates through here and then hits the county's canal right here. But there is a water problem right here. David's culvert he has, that failed last summer during the bad monsoon. The culvert he has failed to overflow, and it does he said 3 times in the last 10 years. So the bad monsoons, it'll flood this, and then I'm sure this wash right here, canal or whatever you want to call it, it probably floods and hits the road. So there's definitely a water problem, but I'd also like to point out that there's thousands of acres before me, before it gets to my property. All I'm trying to do is, I feel comfortable building a duplex where I want to do it, and the road coming in here is on high ground, but it's the road that we're trying to protect to get to the duplex. So that's why if we put this curvature, which we've already done, and put it through here, and then we're building our road up, and then we're gonna put a low water crossing right through here during where that channel is at, and to where you come down the low water crossing and up to the duplex. So yeah, that was what we didn't want to put a culvert in either, because you're right, they do act like a dam, and even if you put some like 2 or 3 big ones in, it's not foolproof. But with a low water crossing, right where the channel is at, hopefully, you can drive down and then up to it, and then even in the worst of the worst storms, hopefully, it'll just go up and over the low water crossing. So I don't know. I guess that's the water diversion we've been doing. So.
Anything else? No?
I'm ready for deliberation, but then I'll explain my vote.
Okay. We have a motion, or for or against?
I'll go ahead and move, Mr. Chairman, that we approve the request for, let me get to the right for Mr. Hughes's request for rezoning parcel number 109-8303M for a multi-family residential development.
I'll second it.
Yeah, and I'll make that unanimous. I know out there
But
there's,
can we have discussion before
yeah,
you make it unanimous?
you go ahead,
Okay.
go ahead.
A motion doesn't necessarily imply a vote.
Okay.
A mitigating factor in support of it is that the water doesn't care whether it's the 2,400 square foot as a duplex or a single family dwelling. You know, that has no impact. I also would approve if this was flat land and had potential for 10 or 12 duplexes. I would not be voting this way. The fact that it's topographically limited, then I'm in support, because it really won't, to me, it won't change the nature of the area. And then I would just express a concern, though, that I'm not so sure that him working in the wash without some kind of guidance and direction for him, just kind of, you know, even if he's a heavy equipment operator and moves dirt, you know, you can screw things up. And I would say that our floodplain engineer definitely needs to review that. And if it's going to add to the flooding problem, then it is a liability to the county as well as to that individual. So I would have a proviso or a cautionary, just point that out, that we really can't listen to someone talk about how they're recontouring the wash without some kind of a final approval of an impact from our county engineer, and would caution that as we go through the building permit process that we not approve until they're in compliance or have some kind of a review. That's my vote.
Matt, add to that?
I'm all for him being able to build what he wants on his property, and I'm all for personal property rights. And my only concern here is that, is it gonna truly is it gonna affect the guy across the street with flooding and the liability that would put on us as well? That's my only concern.
Well, I think all of us has been out in that area, and there's definitely water problems, not only in that area, all up and down Cottonwood Wash. The buildings that's went on out there and the diversions of water to neighbors is definitely a problem, but that's what we've run into out there. But I'm with you, Vice Chair Mack and Supervisor David, that changing water directions isn't what we want to do, and I don't think that's your intent by no means at all. I think you're there just to protect your way in and out, and you're not have the intent to flood somebody out of their house by no means, which is a problem out there, like I just said several times. But I'm all in favor for this, so I will make your motion unanimous, Paul.
Thank you.
Okay, we're through that one.
All right, next one is rezone 892-23. So this has a few different parcel numbers. So first one is parcel number 106-28081. This is a 12.24 acre parcel. The next one is 106-28082. This is a 7.51 acre parcel. And we have 106-28-083. This is a 7.68 acre parcel. And then the last one is just the mother parcel that it was, and that's a total of 39.67 acres total. And that mother parcel is 106-28084. A request was made to rezone these parcels from the current zoning, which is special development, to zone agricultural residential zone. The applicant is Vladimir Illich, And he does currently hold the power of attorney from all other landowners. The applicant wants to use this land in 2-acre parcel minimum to build single-family residences. And these parcels are directly north of the newly approved Sonoran Skies subdivision, east of Stockton Road.
Discussion, questions?
Is there anyone here?
I don't see Vladimir here. Is Sergey here? I don't see Sergey either.
I don't see anybody here.
Yeah, I don't see any applicants that are
Okay.
here.
And was anyone opposed?
On this one, nobody was opposed for this.
Okay, I appreciate having that map as a reference. And my concern, Chairman and Vice Chairman, is that we previously approved, because this is a special district, we're able to give more direction in what we want, how we want it to be developed. And the fact that as they ask us for subdivision without any roadway improvements, but there is a grid, surveyed roads that were dedicated, and standards for signage and the roadway, that I'm reluctant, if they want more of the same, to extend that block of housing, but they then want to eliminate any of their responsibility for the grid or the block system. You know, I don't know what their intent is. If it's just basically they want to just be able to do something with it, that's one thing as individual parcels. But if they're planning on extending that subdivision, selling it in 2-acre parcels, to me, it, you know, that they ought to mirror the what they've done to the south, and not just say we want to extend this, but we don't want to have any of the obligations or any of the cost of improvements. And was that discussed at all in any of the meetings or in any of the presentations?
No, so Vladimir and Alfred Catul, they all bought this property. Sonoran Skies LLC bought this property from Ted Prina.
Right.
They left out these certain blocks for these other residences. And then when they went to go pull a permit, this is when we came across this issue that we can't issue a permit without the board's approval. And then that's what has brought us to the rezone. These are just single-family residences from everything that they've told us. And from my understanding, they're with kind of that whole subdivision also, if I'm not mistaken.
But is it true, based on what you understand, that they would not have the responsibility of putting in the roads and or the signs and to the standards of county standards with everything except for a hard surface?
So our standards, I mean, obviously for the roads, they have to be passable with a 2-wheel drive vehicle.
But they don't haven't platted any roads. They just have these individual parcels.
Correct. So the road, obviously the entrance would be off of East Acacia Avenue here, because this is the exit for the current Sonoran Skies road out of the subdivision. But I also know that road, when the subdivision was approved, that road was not part of the ones that had to be gravelled, mandated to be gravelled as they were in the subdivision.
Yeah, I just am reluctant to, you know, why would we reduce our standards if they're planning to, their intent is to sell these and make money? You know, why not invest in a little infrastructure and have it match the other area, rather than just have it become in essence, we just give you the green light to do whatever you want to there. Although, as a special district, we have a little more jurisdiction.
Yeah.
Okay, that's all my comments, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you.
I'm with Paul. I feel like we gave them
we gave them what they wanted on the 5-acre parcels to the south. And I feel like they're asking for more. Everybody else has to abide by subdivision laws. And I kind of feel like we give them an inch and they've taken a mile. So I'm with Paul on this one. I'm a little bit reluctant to approve anymore.
We're not, and to clarify, thank you, Vice Chair, but to clarify, I'm not opposed to the development. I like the notion, but I would like a little more transparency, and I'd like to see them, you know, if they're going to profit from it, you know, to meet us halfway, and unless it's just going to be these parcels that they do whatever they want to, but that doesn't seem to be their intent.
Yeah, no, that's definitely not their intent, but I also see where you guys are coming from too, as far as holding them accountable with road standards and signs. And
the people that initially buy these probably aren't going to have a problem with the roads. It's the second and third owners that buy them that are going to gripe and want to know why we let them do it without proper roads and drainage and signage.
yeah, and we've had our fair share of those complaints already.
Right.
Would you like to get more information on this, table this, and come back to it? Or do you want to go ahead and make a motion to approve, or how would you like to go forward with this?
Well, there's a time, if we reset, there's a time component to go through the process again.
Right.
It would have been nice if the owner was here to answer questions and have the option of polling and going into consultation, but without his presence, that we really have to, you know, what are we going to second guess what he wants to do?
Right.
I think the only thing we can do is to say, you know, let's, for me, I'll go ahead and formalize this. I'll make a motion that we do not approve the request to rezone these parcels from SD to AR, and I would just add informationally that we'd like to have more information and a better presentation.
I'll second that.
And I'll make that unanimous. Okay. Next.
All right, moving on. We have a road name request. Applicant is Daniel John. Request is to rename a private easement. The proposed name is John Ranch Road. Previously, the board, you approved to rename this road to John Road. The situs address is going north and south from the west end of John Lane, covering half a mile along the base of the mesa. It will serve 2 existing and 2 future residences. So,
Comments, discussion? Have a motion?
I'll make a motion for the name request change for Daniel John from John Road to John Ranch Road, covering half a mile along the base of the mesa. It'll serve 2 existing and 2 future residents.
I'll second Vice Chairman
Unanimous.
Max.
Make that unanimous.
all right, next item is a road name request. Applicant is Gallo Negrete Martinez. Request is to name a private easement that will serve multiple parcels. The proposed name is Dana Circle. The situs address is west off of Black Point Road. This will be roughly 607 feet long.
Discussion? Motion?
I'll move that we approve that road name request of Mr. Martinez's.
I'll second it.
Make that unanimous. And final.
Okay, so another road name request for applicant Gallo Negrete Martinez. This request is to name a private easement serving 2 parcels. This proposed name is Dana Place. So situs address is south of proposed Dana Circle, and it will be roughly 260 feet long.
Discussion, comments, or motion?
I'll go ahead and make a motion that we also approve Mr. Martinez's request to rename this, or to name the road. Is it Dana or Dana? Looks like Dana Place. Okay.
Pronunciation, yeah,
Yeah,
I may be
from Dana Circle,
incorrect.
that's
so.
fine.
I'll second that, sorry.
Make that unanimous. Thank you, Mark.
All right, thank you.
Before you leave, though, a question and just more of a comment. As we have worked through neighborhood problems with access on roads, as these people come in for these road name requests, do we ever pitch them and say, how about providing an easement for the county, and so that we don't have to fight this battle in years to come?
So those are brought up as far as on Dana Circle. They split this into 5 parcels, and then the one serving 2, it has to be a place. But Michael Bryce and the engineering department do a great job at getting easements.
Okay, very good. Thanks very, very much.
Thank
Well
you.
done.
Thank you, Mark. Next, we have some bid opening. We just have one here for emulsified asphalt.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, as you know, this is a rebid from our last go-round. The costs that came in previously were fairly high, so we rebid this. So this is for emulsified asphalt, A-2024-09. Price per ton on CRS2 with all taxes and transport, $898.62. On CRS-2P, $946.66. On CQS-FSR, $574.89, and on CQS-LM, $616.66. Minimum order 24 tons per load. Fee for a short load $130 per ton. Material spreader hourly rate $418 an hour. I'm sorry, that is from Hawker and Evans Asphalt Company.
Was the only bid we had.
That's the only bid.
Okay. Discussion, Mike?
Mr. Chairman, I move that we submit this bid to our highway department for review for conformity and potential award based on their review and their comments.
I'll second that.
Make that unanimous. That's all we have for that. So next we have a presentation up from Mr. Danny Smith.
On the ballpark concession, what did we have?
We didn't have any bids.
Okay.
No bids.
No bids. Next we have Mr. Danny Smith with a presentation for Graham Economic Partnership. Welcome, Danny.
Right after the emulsified asphalt bid. Members of the board, Chairman, thank you for having me. My name's Danny Smith. I'm representing Graham Economic Partnership. And I have a couple of board members with me here today. One is Dustin Welker and our Pima town manager, Vernon Batty. Thanks for coming, Vernon. Graham Economic Partnership is a collective economic development effort here in Graham County, one that has come together for the first time in 30 years, which I'm so excited about. It's part of the reason I left the board to get going. It's something I've been passionate about and hoping to see happen for 25 years. That's how exciting I think that it is. But I can't tell this news story without telling the best story in economic development that you'll ever hear. And a few of you have heard me tell this story before, but In 1962, here in the Gila Valley, we had an effort led by Mr. Welker's grandfather, actually, Don Welker, as the bank manager at Valley Bank. Our community came together and wanted to do something different. They wanted to add jobs in our little valley, not just in ag and in mining and ranching, but they wanted jobs for their kids, for their spouses, and they did a build it and they will come project. And they gathered everyone together in a room, and they sold them on an idea. These are the stock certificates from 1962 issued, and the list of people that contributed is like a who's who of the Gila Valley. It's really neat. But they let people know they had a ability to get in on this project to build a building and try to attract a manufacturer to the Gila Valley. They could get in at the $1,000, $2,000, and $3,000 level in 1962 dollars, which is just about exactly 10,000, 20,000, and 30,000. And 69 people raised their hands. So we're in for one, we're in for two, we're in for three. And it's the most incredible little story that you'll ever hear. One of the really remarkable things about it is that this money would be paid back 30 years later. Took some time, but many of the people that bought their certificates didn't expect to get their money ever. They really just were donating and contributing to this cause to try to put diversify our employment base. In fact, many of them. There were notes issued, but many of them just gave an entity that they wanted the money donated to if and when it was ever paid back. So in 1993, this money was finally paid back, no interest, just $1,000, $2,000, or $3,000. And the largest recipients of this effort were Layton First Ward, LDS Church, the First Methodist Church, St. Rosalima Safford, Boy Scouts Copper Council, Crippled Children's Hospital, Phoenix, Second Ward, Safford, Seventh-day Adventist, and the Thatcher Second Ward. And I think that's the coolest story of a community coming together ever. And for those of you, many of you already know what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the DRG property in Safford. In 1962, they were able to attract a lingerie manufacturer from New York and North Carolina that came and opened shop in Safford, and we're the beneficiary of that project today with DRG that employs around 80 or 100 people, shipping their product around the world and paying hourly rates higher than the average, and so that effort is still alive. So that brings me to this effort. Finally, Graham Economic Partnership is a new collaborative effort where we intend to add the capacity to do economic development work here in the Gila Valley, and bring the entities together to do that work. The board, it's a 501c3, and we have designed it so far to have the board made up of the managers and county manager, and then you have these two outlier fellows, Sean Wenham and Danny Smith, on the board, who are passionate. I'm the executive director of enthusiasm. At this point, we have no paid staff, but we have raised around $300,000 so far to do a lot of the work that we have proposed. As you know, city and county entities are really good at planning, but there's not always work to do, or not always money to do the work. So we have economic development plans here in the Gila Valley from 2000, 2002, 2007, 2012, 2017, 2019. There's a new one from 2023 we're just finishing up. And there's a lot of similarity in these economic development plans, as you might expect, because many times they say the same things. There's just not money or any entity to do it. We all work in that space in economic development, but it's no one's responsibility every day, and that's what we intend to change. These are some of what we call the low-hanging fruit from those 23 years of plans. We are still working on getting our nonprofit status, but we do have a few dollars to spend. This group has been around for about 12 years. We just recently redesigned it as a 501c3. We paid for our community to attend I don't know if I'll get it right, but a national aerospace business convention in Las Vegas. We sent folks from the Gila Valley here to represent the Gila Valley and the Safford Airport, trying to attract other businesses to move to our airport. Just one of the things that we've done already. And we have, as you can see from the list, these are some of the things that show up in all of those 23 years of plans that we intend to do. And I can talk more about it in our work session, and I'm glad to answer any questions. Our effort is patterned after Pinal Partnership over in Pinal County. And also a bit after what's called Real AZ, that's Apache and Navajo counties' approach to this. In Real AZ, in that effort, there's an economic development director who works for Navajo County and who also leads their economic development effort. In Pinal County, there are entities already working on economic development like Casa Grande, Pinal County, Eloy, Maricopa, the city of Maricopa. Their effort really just brings folks together. Our effort brings folks together and also intends to do much of the work. So with that, thank you for listening to my story. That first story is amazing. My friend Sean Wenham told me of this quote. He says that a society grows great when old men and women plant trees under whose shade they know they'll never sit. And I think that's perfectly fitting for that story of folks that were willing to step up and create jobs that we're all benefiting from today.
Danny, I got a question for you.
Yeah.
Out at the airport, that airport seems to be just really taking off and doing well. Is this part of your story too, the economic development?
It's part of our intention to bring businesses to the Gila Valley, to the airport, to wherever they land that employ people in jobs that aren't retail, that then create more rooftops, that then create more payroll in our community that brings us other amenities. So the airport is definitely a part of that. They have their intentions and they have their airport manager who's promoting it. The city of Safford has been more aggressive. But yeah, it's opportunity for sure. There's if you asked anyone how many people work at the airport, I think most people would say 3, 10. There's almost 200 people that are coming and going from the airport these days.
That's great. Thank you.
Yeah.
I had a question, and you mentioned that the Gila Valleys was modeled after, I think, Pinal County and some other counties. And it's been interesting to watch the interaction. The city of Safford supports the Chamber of Commerce with the building and with and shared revenues from hotel, hotel stays. And I was just wondering, does the Chamber of Commerce have an active role in these other areas? Or, and the only reason that I would advocate for it is just to avoid the duplication, because I know the promotion is something that both of you do, and I'm just wondering, I just find it a little unusual that we don't have our Chamber of Commerce represented.
That they're not represented?
Is Vance Bryce on it?
Not on the board, no.
Okay, not on the board. That's the question. I was just wondering if other boards, similar size or other, typically have representation.
Well, not represented on the board, but that doesn't mean that they can't be.
Okay.
These are the board members to begin with. I think after one of you could correct me, but I think we had an extra spot or two in our bylaws. Maybe we have 6, and I think maybe we have 7. Yeah, 7 spots. So there's room for someone else. But we intend to work with the Graham County Chamber of Commerce for sure.
Okay, great. Thank you. Didn't mean to go into an uncomfortable place, but it just seemed...
Oh, no, it's not uncomfortable.
Okay.
They do a great job. I would say that, the Chamber of Commerce isn't here to speak for themselves, but I think they may agree that in today's world, a Chamber of Commerce, their makeup and their role is evolving. You don't have the on a chamber board. It used to be the furniture store owner, the grocery store owner, the car dealer owner, the members of the community and business. Well, you don't have the Home Depot owner or GameStop owner or Safeway owner, on a chamber board anymore. And a lot of their function and is more that of a tourism convention bureau, promoting the Gila Valley, promoting the area for travel and tourism. And they do a great job at that. And in fact, like you mentioned, that's where a lot of their funding comes from bed tax, from people staying in our hotels. So just changes over time.
Understood. Thank you.
Yeah.
Great presentation. Look forward to visiting more with you. Thank you
thank you
for being the point of the spear and all the good things that are going to come that we only hear rumors about.
Oh, you heard it here. Thank you.
Thanks, Danny.
I bet that list of names that contributed back in, what'd you say, 62? I bet
1962. Yeah, I got them all right here if you're curious. Yeah.
Pretty interesting.
Just out, was your dad included?
Yeah, it probably helps that Don Welker knew how much was in everyone's checking account at the
time. Thank you, Danny.
That's awesome.
Next, we go to call the public, and I don't see anybody here. Anybody here to speak? No? Okay, so that will do it. We will be adjourned. Thank you all. That's a long one.
What time did you say that from?